As we grow older, many of us imagine a peaceful future surrounded by family mornings filled with laughter from the grandchildren next door. Sunday dinners with our children, the comfort of knowing help is only a short walk away. It sounds ideal, doesn't it? A gentle ending to a life spent building love and connection. Yet for many, this dream comes with quiet surprises, unspoken expectations, blurred boundaries, and a slow fading of independence. Living close to our children can offer warmth, but it can also take away the very freedom that keeps us vibrant and self-assured. In the years meant for rest and rediscovery, proximity can sometimes become a cage disguised as comfort. This isn't about choosing distance over love, it's about learning that sometimes the best way to stay close is to live a little apart, giving both generations room to breathe and grow. When love turns into obligation, am I becoming a burden? It often begins with the best of intentions. A mother decides to move closer to her daughter to help with the grandchildren. She imagines herself cooking family meals, picking the kids up from school, and being part of their daily lives. For a while, everything feels warm and familiar. But over time, small moments of tension appear. Her daughter seems distracted, her son-in-law looks tired, and she begins to sense a shift. She's no longer just visiting, she's depending. One woman once said, "I thought I was helping, but slowly, I realized I was the one asking for help." The heartbreak wasn't in needing assistance, it was in feeling like she'd taken something from her daughter's already full life. Our children love us, but they also carry their own worlds, careers, bills, their children's futures. When we move closer, our presence, however loving, can quietly become another responsibility, not because they want it that way, but because love carries obligation. They worry about us, check in more often, feel guilty for being busy. And for us, that awareness can turn affection into self-consciousness. We hesitate to ask for small favors. We sense their exhaustion. We apologize for needing what's natural to need. Sometimes, love breathes easier with space, not distance of the heart, but of the calendar and the map. When visits are chosen instead of expected, when help is offered instead of assumed, relationships regain their balance. Living apart doesn't mean loving less. It means allowing love to exist freely, without the heavy shadow of duty. 2. The subtle erosion of independence, when it's easier to ask than to try. Independence rarely disappears all at once. It fades quietly the first time we ask for a ride instead of taking the bus, the first time we skip the grocery store because someone else offers to go. Convenience can be comforting, but it can also be corrosive. There's a story of a man named Walter who moved next door to his son after retirement. It seemed perfect at first: shared Sunday breakfasts, family nearby, no long drives. But within a year, Walter noticed he had stopped doing simple things alone. "It's easier to ask," he said, "so I ask." Eventually, he stopped walking to the park, stopped fixing small things around the house, even stopped deciding what to cook. His world became smaller, not because anyone took it from him, but because he handed over the steering wheel a little at a time. What we call help can sometimes rob us of purpose. Every time we let someone else handle what we still can, we surrender a small piece of the confidence that makes life worth living. Staying slightly apart forces us to stay capable, to plan, to solve, to move, to try. It keeps the body active and the mind alert. It reminds us that we are still the authors of our own days. Independence is not stubbornness, it's self-respect. It's the quiet pride of saying, "I can still take care of myself." And when we hold on to that, we don't just live longer, we live fuller. 3. The unseen tension. Why living too close can strain the closest bonds. It's easy to believe that being nearby will make relationships smoother, but sometimes familiarity breeds friction. The very closeness we crave can blur lines that once kept harmony intact. Take Eleanor, who moved into the house next door to her son and daughter-in-law. In the beginning, it felt like a blessing: dinners together, family movie nights, the laughter of her grandchildren echoing through her windows. But soon, small irritations surfaced. She offered advice on the children's bedtime routines, commented on the garden, suggested how they might handle their finances. None of it was meant to interfere, she was simply being a mother. Yet, to her son, it felt like a return to childhood, where every choice was overseen, every mistake corrected. Arguments began to replace conversations. Doors closed a little faster. Eleanor confessed later, I thought living close would make us closer. Instead, I feel like I'm always in the way. It is a lasting vice. When parents and children live side by side, it's easy to fall back into old roles, the parent advising, the child defending, both forgetting they're now two adults. Distance can protect that delicate balance. When visits are intentional, when time together is chosen, we show up as equals, each with our own rhythms and boundaries. Space gives us the gift of perspective. We stop managing each other's lives and start appreciating them. Love doesn't need constant proximity. It needs respect, patience, and room to grow on its own terms. And sometimes, the healthiest relationships are the ones that live just far enough apart to stay tender. 4. The loneliness no one expects, surrounded, yet isolated. It's one of life's quietest ironies, being surrounded by family, yet feeling utterly alone. Many older adults move closer to their children, believing they'll finally have more companionship. They picture shared meals, regular visits, and laughter echoing through familiar rooms. But reality often unfolds differently. Margaret, a retired teacher, left her hometown to be near her son in the city. She sold her little house, said goodbye to lifelong friends, and moved into a cozy apartment just 10 minutes away. For a few weeks, everything felt right. But soon, her son's busy life took over work trips, the kids' soccer games, the constant rush of modern living. Margaret found herself waiting for calls that came late and visits that were postponed. I thought I'd be part of their daily life, she admitted, but I ended up sitting alone more than ever. It's a loneliness born not from neglect, but from misaligned expectations. Children love their parents deeply, but their worlds are full and not always spacious enough to hold another routine. When we depend too heavily on family for social connection, we risk losing the friendships, routines, and communities that once gave us belonging. Building a life beyond our children, joining a club, volunteering, or nurturing friendships isn't an act of distance. It's an act of self-preservation. A rich social world keeps our hearts light and our minds awake. Because in the end, the happiest elders are not those living closest to their children, but those still rooted in the larger garden of life. 5. Guilt and unspoken pressure when love feels like a debt. Love within families often carries invisible weight, small strands of guilt that tug at both sides. Parents feel guilty for asking too much. Children feel guilty for not doing enough. No one speaks it aloud, but it lingers in the silences between phone calls and the awkward pauses before goodbye. One woman, juggling her job and 2 small kids, confessed that her aging parents living nearby made her feel torn in half. Every time I said no to helping them, she said, I felt like a bad daughter, but every time I said yes, I felt like I was failing my family. This emotional push and pull erodes the joy that should come from being together. Parents start minimizing their needs, pretending to manage fine even when they don't. Children start resenting the quiet demands that never stop coming. Love turns into a series of unspoken obligations rather than a source of comfort. But when we give each other space, when we live separately and meet intentionally, something softens. Visits become cherished rather than expected. Conversations feel lighter. We show up not because we must, but because we want to. And in that freedom, guilt loses its grip, allowing genuine love to breathe again. 6. The adventure you might miss. What else could life be? For decades, your world revolved around work, children, and home. Then one day, the house grows quiet, and the question whispers, what now? Retirement is not the end of a story. It's a new chapter waiting to be written. Yet many people close that chapter too soon by anchoring their lives to their children's neighborhoods. They choose comfort over curiosity. But the world is still wide, and joy still hides in unexpected corners. Take Harold, for example, a retired engineer who, instead of moving near his daughter, decided to relocate to a lakeside town several states away. He joined a hiking group, learned photography, and began hosting game nights with his new neighbors. I thought my daughter would be disappointed, he said. But when she visited, she told me she'd never seen me so alive. It was Manerally Dine. There's something profoundly revitalizing about starting over in a new place. It reminds you that life isn't behind you, it's still unfolding. Whether it's a move to a quiet coastal village, a vibrant senior community, or simply a different part of town, Change can wake up the parts of us that went dormant while we were busy caring for others. When we choose adventure over proximity, we don't lose family. We gain stories to share, perspectives to offer, and the rare joy of growing old with curiosity instead of caution. 7. When they're not ready, your children still have their own mountains to climb. It's easy to forget that our adult children are still climbing their own hills, careers to build, children to raise, marriages to nurture, and personal dreams to chase. They may love us deeply, but love doesn't always mean readiness. After her husband passed, Denise moved across the country to live near her daughter, believing it would bring them both comfort. At first, it did. But soon, Denise realized her daughter was struggling, juggling work deadlines, school drop-offs, and a house that always seemed a step behind order. "I thought I was lightening her load," Denise said, "but I was adding to it without meaning to. This is their best of this, and then I think you in consolation, and a next break today." Adult children rarely say it outright, but many are not emotionally or practically prepared to care for an aging parent nearby. The pressure is quiet but heavy. They want to do right by you, yet they're still learning how to do right by themselves. By living independently, even if at a distance, we give them the space to grow into that readiness naturally. When the time comes for them to help, they will step forward with love, not obligation. And in the meantime, you both get to live your lives fully, side by side in spirit, rather than in routine. 8. Turning inward after a lifetime of caring. What do you need? For so many years, your life was built around caring for your children, your spouse, your parents, your work. It's easy to forget that now, finally, it's your turn. The later years aren't just about winding down. They're about rediscovering the quiet joy of being your own person again. Take Laura, a woman who, after decades of caring for others, surprised everyone including herself by moving to a small coastal town after retirement. Her children expected her to move nearby, but she chose the sea instead. "For the first time in my life," she said, "I wake up and ask, what do I want today?" She paints, walks along the shore, reads late into the night, and hosts her family when they visit. "They see me happy," she said softly, "and that's the best gift I can give them." Find a smartled well. There's a deep lesson in that our happiness, our independence, our fulfillment, they ripple outward. When we fill our own lives with meaning, our children feel it too. They see that aging isn't a slow fade into dependence, but a second bloom of selfhood. This stage of life isn't about stepping aside for the next generation. It's about stepping fully into your own light. The children you once raised don't need your constant presence. They need your example of resilience, curiosity, and the courage to live for yourself. And when you do, love doesn't fade, it flourishes. 9. Different times, different choices, when their parenting isn't yours. One of the hardest adjustments for many grandparents is realizing that the way their children raise their own kids might not match the ways they once did. It's easy to forget how much the world has changed. New parenting philosophies, technology, education styles, even what children eat and watch. Take Marjorie, who moved close to her daughter after retiring. She imagined being a steady presence, the wise grandmother her grandchildren would adore. But what she didn't expect was the tension. "I wanted to help," she said, "but every time I offered advice, it felt like I was stepping on her toes." Hasolata Decembra. She disagreed with her daughter's lenient discipline and the constant use of screens. Small comments grew into quiet arguments. "I stopped visiting unannounced," Marjorie confessed, "because I never knew if I was helping or meddling. It's natural to want to share what experience has taught us. But when we live nearby, those differences sit closer to the surface. We see the daily choices, the small moments we might not agree with, and it becomes harder to stay silent. When we give space, we also give respect. From afar, it's easier to see the bigger picture, that our children are doing their best, even if their methods differ from ours. Love doesn't mean shaping their lives, it means trusting them to shape their own. And sometimes, that trust is strongest when it's practiced from a comfortable distance. 10. Boundaries and breathing room. Love doesn't need to knock unannounced. Even in the closest families, boundaries are essential. Without them, affection can quietly turn into exhaustion. When parents and children live near each other, it's tempting to drop by, to check in, to stay involved. But too much closeness can start to feel like being watched or needed all the time. Amelia's daughter once said it kindly but firmly. "Mom, I love you, but I need to miss you sometimes." It broke Amelia's heart at first, but over time, she understood. Since moving next door, she had slipped into old patterns, stopping by unannounced, offering to help with dinner, folding laundry while they talked. What she saw as gestures of care, her daughter experienced as intrusion. "It's not that I didn't want to see her," her daughter explained. "I just needed space to live my own life without feeling observed." Living a bit farther away helps keep those boundaries natural. Visits become moments to look forward to, not obligations to manage. You show up rested, present, and ready to connect, not woven into the daily noise of each other's lives. Boundaries are not barriers, they're the lines that protect tenderness. When love has room to breathe, it thrives. And when we choose space intentionally, we preserve the kind of relationship that grows sweeter, not heavier, with time. 11. The weight of grandparenting, when joy turns into a full-time job. Few things bring more joy than being a grandparent. The laughter, the hugs, the little voices calling your name, they fill a house with warmth. But for many, living close to their children turns that joy into an unspoken job description. Robert, a retired postman, moved near his daughter to spend more time with his grandkids. Within months, he found himself babysitting almost daily. "I love them more than anything," he said, "but I didn't expect to be this tired." He rarely declined to help, fearing it would seem selfish. But soon, his days were no longer his own. What begins as love can quietly become obligation. The danger isn't just exhaustion, it's losing the simple pleasure of being grand rather than being on call. When every day includes responsibility, there's no room left for spontaneity or rest. Distance can help redefine that relationship. It allows you to visit, to help when you choose to create special memories rather than routines that drain you. The best grandparents aren't the ones who are always available. They're the ones who show up with energy, joy, and stories to share. Remember, love isn't measured in hours spent babysitting. It's measured in connection, in the warmth that comes when time together is chosen, not assumed. Finally, closeness isn't always about distance. There's a tenderness in wanting to stay close to our children, a deep instinct that whispers, "I want to be near the people I love." But closeness isn't just measured by miles or minutes. It's measured by the quality of our connection, by how freely love moves between us without pressure, guilt, or exhaustion. Living near our children may seem like the safest way to stay connected, but true connection often needs space. Space for them to live their lives without feeling watched. Space for us to rediscover who we are beyond being parents. Space for love to exist as choice, not duty. Your golden years are not an afterthought, they are your next great chapter. This is the time to explore, to create, to rest, to simply be. When your children see you thriving, laughing with friends, discovering new passions, greeting each morning with quiet purpose, they don't feel abandoned, they feel inspired. So perhaps the secret is this: stay close in spirit, but let the map between you hold a little space. Let love travel the distance, because in that distance, you'll find not separation, but strength, a kind of closeness that endures without needing to be side by side. And maybe that's what aging gracefully really means. Not holding on, but letting go gently, lovingly, and with the quiet confidence that both you and your children will flourish in your own beautiful ways. Feel free to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe. It really helps us reach more amazing people like you. Thank you so much for watching.